Buddhism isn't about denying a creator, it's about a different kind of inquiry. It asks, what is the nature of suffering, its cause, its cessation, and the path to freedom? A path for all beings. Instead of a singular divine architect, Buddha taught dependent origination. Everything arises in relation to other things, a vast web of cause and effect, where nothing is truly separate, nothing exists independently. In this vast web, nothing is permanent, and nothing possesses a fixed, independent self. Including our own sense of self, and any external, unchanging divine being we might conceive of, all arises and passes. The path to liberation, therefore, isn't about appeasing an external deity, but about understanding our own mind, our attachments, and our actions. It's an inner journey of profound self-discovery. Every action, word, and thought creates consequences, or karma. We are the architects of our own experience, moment by moment, life by life, shaping our reality through our choices. The ultimate goal is nirvana, not a heavenly realm created by a god, but the cessation of suffering, the extinguishing of greed, hatred, and delusion within our own hearts. A profound state of liberation. In Buddhism, the divine isn't an external entity, but the inherent potential for awakening, for compassion, for wisdom that lies within every being, our Buddha nature, waiting to be realized. So, instead of belief in a creator, Buddhists cultivate direct insight, mindful awareness, and boundless compassion, finding peace in the present moment, grounded in reality. Perhaps the true question isn't whether God exists, but how we choose to engage with our own existence, and the profound wisdom available when we look within. Begin that journey today. Many ask, why don't Buddhists believe in God? It's a fundamental question that touches upon how we understand the universe, our place within it, and the very nature of liberation. Let's gently explore this wisdom, not as a rejection. Throughout history, humanity has sought answers to life's deepest mysteries: creation, purpose, suffering, and what lies beyond. Different cultures and traditions have offered diverse paths and understandings, each attempting to grasp the vastness of existence. In many traditions, God is understood as a singular, omnipotent creator, a divine being who initiated the universe, governs its laws, and acts as a judge or savior. This concept offers comfort, order, and a sense of ultimate control. However, the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, did not primarily focus on the origin of the universe or the existence of a creator god. His singular focus was on suffering dukkha and the path to its cessation. The Buddha taught that liberation from suffering comes not from external intervention or divine grace, but through one's own efforts, understanding, and practice. It is a path of self-discovery and self-mastery, where each individual holds the power to transform their. Instead of a creator, Buddhism posits the principle of dependent origination, pratityasamutpada, and karma. Everything arises in dependence upon other things, a vast, intricate web of cause and effect, without a first cause or a divine architect. Our actions, thoughts. In this framework, there's no need for a first cause or an ultimate judgment day orchestrated by a divine being. Existence is seen as a continuous, ever-changing cycle of becoming and ceasing, driven by conditions. For Buddhists, true wisdom, pradyajna, comes from direct experience and insight, not from blind faith or belief in dogma. It's about seeing things as they truly are, understanding the nature of reality through mindfulness and meditation. Ultimately, the Buddha's teachings point to the potential for awakening bodhi within each and every being. This Buddha nature is not something granted by an external god, but an inherent purity and wisdom that can be uncovered through diligent practice. So, Buddhists don't believe in a creator god in the conventional sense, not because of denial, but because the Buddha offered a different, empowering framework. A framework that places the responsibility and the potential for liberation squarely within our own. Many people ask why Buddhists don't believe in a creator god. It's a fundamental question that often arises from different spiritual frameworks. Buddhism, at its heart, is not about believing in a divine being. Instead of a creator, the Buddha taught about dependent origination, the idea that everything arises in dependence upon other things. There is no first cause, no ultimate beginning, and no single entity that creates or controls the universe. The focus in Buddhism is on direct experience and personal realization. The Buddha invited his followers not to blindly believe, but to come and see for themselves. This path emphasizes wisdom gained through meditation and ethical conduct. The core of Buddha's teaching is about dukkha, suffering or dissatisfaction. It arises not from a divine punishment or a predetermined fate, but from our own craving, attachment, and ignorance. By understanding the true causes of suffering within ourselves, the path to liberation in Buddhism is the Eightfold Path, a practical guide to ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. It's a journey of self-cultivation where we actively transform our minds and actions. The Buddha himself never claimed to be a god or a divine messenger. He was a human being who, through his own efforts, attained profound awakening and liberation. He then shared his insights as a guide. Central to this self-reliance is the understanding of karma, the law of cause and effect. Our actions, thoughts, and words create consequences that shape our future. There is no external judge or divine intervention determining our destiny. Rather, by not positing a creator God, Buddhism encourages us to transcend dualities good and evil, heaven and hell, as absolute, external forces. Instead, it invites us to see these as mental constructs, arising from our minds. This leads to the profound peace of anatta, or no self. When we let go of the rigid idea of a separate, unchanging self, and the need for an external creator to validate our existence. So, Buddhists don't deny the existence of spiritual realms or powerful beings. But the path to liberation is always within. It's a journey of self-discovery, self-responsibility, and the cultivation of wisdom and compassion. This path offers a profound freedom. Many spiritual paths seek a divine creator, a guiding hand in the cosmos. It's a natural human quest for meaning. But Buddhism offers a different, profound perspective, one focused on inner wisdom. The Buddha didn't deny or affirm a creator God in the conventional sense. His focus was practical understanding suffering, its causes, and the path to its cessation. Right here, right now. Instead of a divine will, we find the Four Noble Truths: suffering, its origin, its cessation, and the path to freedom. This is the core framework for understanding our existence. Everything arises in dependence upon other things. There is no first cause, no single ultimate creator, only an intricate web of causes and conditions, ever changing. Our actions, our karma, shape our experience. Liberation comes from understanding and transforming our own mind and intentions, not from external salvation or divine intervention. All conditioned things are impermanent, unsatisfactory, and without a permanent, unchanging self. This profound understanding frees us from clinging to what cannot last. The sacred in Buddhism is found not in a transcendent deity, but in the Dharma itself, the Sangha, and the awakened potential within each being. It's a living, breathing truth. Through meditation, we realize the emptiness of inherent existence, not a void, but a vast potential, free from fixed concepts, where true freedom lies. This wisdom naturally leads to boundless compassion for all beings. Our practice is to alleviate suffering through mindful action and genuine care, not to worship an external entity. So, Buddhists don't believe in God in the traditional sense, but rather invite you to look within, to see for yourself the true nature of reality, and find your own liberation. In Buddhism, the focus isn't on a creator God, but on understanding the fundamental nature of reality itself. We observe that all phenomena are impermanent, constantly changing, and interconnected. This insight into anicca, impermanence, dukkha, suffering or unsatisfactoriness, instead of a single creator, Buddhism presents the concept of dependent origination, or paticca-samuppada. This profound teaching states that all phenomena arise in dependence on other phenomena. Nothing exists independently. Everything is interconnected in a vast web of cause and. The Buddha's path is one of wisdom, Prajna, not blind faith. He encouraged his followers to come and see a hepasico, to investigate his teachings for themselves, just as a goldsmith tests gold for purity. The Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, was a human being who, through his own efforts, attained profound enlightenment. He was a supreme teacher, a compassionate guide, but never claimed to be a god, an incarnation of a god. Buddhist ethics are rooted in the principle of karma action and its consequences. Karma is not a system of divine reward or punishment, but a natural law of cause and effect. Wholesome actions driven by compassion and wisdom lead. For Buddhists, true peace and liberation, Nirvana, are states achieved through inner cultivation and practice, not through divine intervention or prayer to an external entity. The path involves developing mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, purifying the mind of defilements like craving. Another reason why the concept of an omnipotent, omnibenevolent creator God doesn't fit within Buddhist philosophy is the undeniable presence of suffering in the world. If there were such a God, why would suffering, injustice, and immense pain exist? Central to Mahayana Buddhism is the concept of sunyata, or emptiness. This doesn't mean nothing exists, but that things are empty of inherent, independent existence. Everything is dependently originated and lacks a fixed, unchanging essence. The ultimate goal in Buddhism is nirvana, the cessation of suffering, the extinguishing of craving, aversion, and ignorance. Nirvana is not a heavenly realm ruled by a god, nor is it a post-mortem reward for good behavior. So, when Buddhists say they don't believe in God, it's not an act of defiance, but a reflection of a profoundly different worldview. It's an invitation to explore a path of self-discovery, where wisdom, compassion. Many come to Buddhism with a question, why no God? It's a profound inquiry, often rooted in our conditioning to seek an ultimate creator or a divine hand guiding destiny. But the Buddha's wisdom offers a different lens. The very first cornerstone of Buddha's teaching is anicca, impermanence. Everything, from a fleeting thought to a majestic mountain, is constantly changing, arising and passing away. If everything is in a state of flux, how could there be a fixed? Then there is dukkha, often translated as suffering, but more accurately, dissatisfaction or unease. Life, by its very nature, involves elements of stress, pain, and discontent. The Buddhist path doesn't seek to attribute this suffering to a divine punishment or. Perhaps the most challenging concept for many is anatta, or no self. Buddhism posits that there is no permanent, unchanging soul or self residing within us. What we perceive as self is a dynamic collection of physical form, sensations, perceptions. This leads us to dependent origination, the understanding that all phenomena arise in dependence upon other phenomena. Nothing exists independently, created by a singular, external force. Instead, everything is a result of causes and conditions, a vast, intricate web of interconnectedness. In Buddhism, karma is not divine judgment, but a natural law of cause and effect. Every intentional action of body, speech, and mind leaves an imprint and bears fruit. Rebirth is not the transmigration of a fixed soul. With these understandings, the focus shifts entirely to practice. The Noble Eightfold Path, right understanding, thought, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and concentration, is a practical guide for living. It is a path of self-cultivation, meditation, and ethical conduct. In this framework, the Buddha is revered not as a god, but as an extraordinary human being who awakened to the truth of existence. He is a teacher, a guide, a physician who diagnosed the illness of suffering and prescribed. Ultimately, the Buddhist path cultivates boundless compassion metta and profound wisdom panna. These qualities arise naturally as we understand the interconnectedness of all beings and the nature of suffering. It is through these inner developments, not through external worship. So, when Buddhists speak of not believing in God, it is not an act of defiance or rejection of spirituality. Rather, it is an adherence to a path focused on understanding the nature of reality, suffering, and the self. Buddhism, at its core, invites us to look within, to understand the nature of suffering and its cessation through direct experience, not through an external divine authority. In Buddhist cosmology, various deities, or devas, exist across different realms. However, even these beings are subject to the laws of impermanence and karma, just like humans. Unlike the concept of an eternal, all-powerful creator, the Buddha taught that our liberation comes from understanding sufferings, causes, and developing wisdom, not from divine intervention. The Buddha introduced dependent origination, the intricate web of causes and conditions, as the explanation for existence, eliminating the need for a singular creator. Everything arises in dependence. This understanding shifts responsibility to us. Our actions, thoughts, and words are karma shape our experiences. We are the architects of our own liberation, not a higher power. Buddhism asks us to investigate, to see for ourselves what is true, rather than relying on blind faith in any authority, human or divine. The path is one of personal discovery. The true divine in Buddhism is often found within the awakened mind, the Buddha nature inherent in all beings. It's not something granted by an external entity, but realized through practice. Our path is paved with wisdom and compassion for ourselves and all beings. These qualities, cultivated through practice, are our highest guides, transcending any external worship. The Buddha himself was a guide, a teacher, not a god to be worshipped. His teachings empower us to liberate ourselves, to awaken our own inherent wisdom and compassion. So, instead of seeking a god, explore the vastness within. Begin your own journey of self-discovery, cultivate your wisdom and compassion, and find your own path to peace. Many often wonder, why do Buddhists not believe in a god? This question arises from a common understanding of spirituality, where a divine creator is central. Buddhism offers a profound path, not centered on external belief. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from craving and attachment, and that liberation comes from understanding these causes. Instead of a creator, Buddhism emphasizes dependent origination, how all phenomena arise in dependence upon other factors. This perspective doesn't lead to prayer or worship of a deity. Instead, it guides us to a path of diligent practice, mindfulness, meditation, ethical conduct, and wisdom. Through these practices, we directly observe the nature of our mind and the ultimate aim is nirvana, the cessation of suffering, a state of profound peace and freedom. This liberation is not granted by an external power, but realized through one's own efforts and understanding. So, when Buddhists speak of not believing in God, it's an invitation to explore a different kind of spiritual quest, one rooted in personal experience, empirical inquiry, and the profound wisdom of an awakened mind.